your picks, give me your insights. I want the bets from Betting Weekly. Because we win, that is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win.
All right, here we go. Betting Weekly Live here with you on a Wednesday. Mike Carver along with Doug Kezirian as we get you ready for all of tonight's action. We've got NBA tonight. We've got NHL. We've got a lot of college basketball. Very full evening. We have Chris Macero, Pro Better, coming up in a moment. Good to be with you as always. Betting Weekly Studios, of course, part of the Bet Rivers Network. Doug, happy Wednesday. Staying hot, baby. 2 nights in a row with the daily double. It's that plus 252 that's doing it. We got to keep landing right on that number, Doug.
When people ask me my lucky number, it's not going to be 7 anymore. It's going to be 252. Look, it's good to nail these. Nice to get some rocking chair. You had a solid third period, little comeback there for the total, but that's what it takes. We got burned last week on a scoreless third period. So it goes around, comes around, apparently.
I told you that those two teams owed us, Doug, Buffalo and Vancouver. They owed us an over, and they got us one in the third period last night. And nice job by Utah State taking care of business in Colorado Springs against the
Air Force. Deserves all the credit, though.
It was. It got around 20 at one point, like around halftime. It was 16 or 18, and then they just blew the doors off them in the second half. No problem whatsoever for the Aggies. But we'll start things off today, Doug, and we bring in once again, always great to have Chris Macero with us here on Betting Weekly Live as we get ready for the college football playoff the next couple of nights, the semifinals. We've got NFL Super Wildcard Weekend coming up as well. Chris, good to see you as always, my man. How are you?
Great. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on. Good to see you, Doug. In the immortal words of Pete Carroll on his way out, he used to always say this when he was the Patriots coach: pumped and jacked. I am pumped and jacked for this weekend. You have 5 straight days of college football, pro football as it wraps around to Monday. I mean, what a weekend to be a sports fan. I remember last time I was on with you guys, I said, if you have a wife and children, send them to Disney World because this is the weekend. But I guess this is the weekend too. So you might have to send them to Disneyland this time. I mean, this is 5 action-packed days. Can't wait to get after it.
Yeah, I'd say this is the weekend. I'd send them these 5 days. I'd want them gone for all of this. And I'm actually trying to work on that also downstairs after the show. I'm going to try to get everybody out of here for the next 5 days. All right, Chris, let's get going here with the college football playoff. Thursday night, Fiesta Bowl, Glendale, Miami, and Ole Miss. Right now at Bet Rivers, Ole Miss getting 3.5 points, 52 flat is the total. 2 teams that not many expected to still be here in the semis.
Yeah, it's a long shot. Of course, they didn't even think Miami was going to make the whole thing. So I'm very fortunate. I had some nice futures that are now debunked. But on December 4th, I was able to get Miami at 100 to 1. Most people didn't think they were going to make the playoff, but at that time, I just took an educated guess that they were going to make it. So I have them at 100 to 1. I do have Ole Miss at 35 to 1. But in this game, I'm definitely leaning Miami. As we discussed last time, I mean, this is an elite defense. There's NFL players all over the field, the top pass rush in college football. Last week against Ohio State, I mean, the big-time stars are coming to play. Jacoby Thomas, 7 tackles. Messidor had 2 sacks. He had a few sacks the game before against Texas A&M. You have all-world Ruben Bain. He had a sack, a tackle for a loss. And the guy that's becoming the defensive MVP of the playoffs, this Keontae Scott, he had 2 sacks against A&M. He has the spectacular pick 6 against Ohio State where he just jumped in front. I mean, what an exciting play that was. So, I mean, they got these, almost household names now in the Miami defense. It's not quite the 90s with the Russell Maryland days. But, I mean, this is some exciting players on that side of the ball. And I just think with everything that's going on with Ole Miss, the coaching room, and it's not even a carousel. It's like turmoil. They're going back and forth and rotating from being on LSU staff to coming to coach for Ole Miss. At some point, that's got to catch up to them. I will play a little devil's advocate. I was a little concerned in the beginning of the second half when Ohio State kind of got the ball rolling. They're running straight up the middle with Bo Jackson. He had some big runs, 7 yards, 6 yards, 18 yards, capped it off with a 1-yard touchdown on that first drive where they scored. And that rushing set up the play action for the second drive when they went right down the field. Again, 75 yards to cut it to 3 as close as they got. So I do think Kewan Lacey is going to have a decent game. The guy's a monster. The thing is, are they going to be able to control Trinidad football? I mean, it reminded me of Johnny Manziel back in 2012 versus Alabama. I can't believe that's that long ago, but that was probably the most exciting half of the college football season. But a diminutive guy, I just think with all these athletes on the Miami side of the ball, I'm definitely leaning Miami in this game. I have a little bit more money on them to win the whole thing. And I just think with everything that's going on with the coaching staff and the Goldings' questionable calls, going for too early, not getting out of bounds before they have to kick the field goal, some of the stuff that Cristobal does, I think that's going to catch up to Ole Miss. So I'm on Miami in this game.
Chris, I love talking this out with you because a lot of times pro bettors are just math guys and like, well, I made the number 4, so I have to bet it. So, but you break it down from an eye test and then obviously a knowledgeable background. I guess my thing is, and you touched on it with the Bo Jackson stuff, so much of that previous round was a lot of the narrative was teams that had a bye, the rust versus rest and stuff like that. Obviously, that doesn't apply here. So when you assess these teams and you kind of know that in the back of your mind, like what adjustments do you make? How much weight do you put on coaching? Because it's a quick turnaround. Neither of these coaches were looking ahead or scouting ahead because obviously they had a tough opponent. So how do you kind of prioritize variables you look for as you kind of process everything and extract a play?
Like you did mention the eye test, and what definitely stands out to me is the speed and the power of the Miami defense. I mean, Ruben Bain, how he turns the corner and gets so low behind, gets by the tackle every single play. I mean, it's just standout performances on the field on defense. That's definitely the best unit on the field. But you might have a weird situation, where Trinidad Chambliss is the best player on the field. He sure looked like he was the best player in the second half. But what I will say about that performance in the second half, I'm not taking anything away from him. He seems like a great guy. He wants to stay at Ole Miss. I just feel that in that game, Georgia had some serious injuries coming into the game. Then their safety, KJ Bolden, was injured during the game. And then that ridiculous play, I know they have to call a penalty, but kicking the guy out, Ja'Cory Thomas, got ejected for targeting. Once that happened, the wheels kind of fell off for Georgia. Kirby Smart's going for it on every fourth down because he knew as soon as he was giving the ball back to Chambliss, they weren't going to be able to stop him. I think that's going to be a lot different with this Miami defense. Too many good NFL players, too many stars. And I think Cristobal aside, and sometimes Carson Beck, gets me a little nervous. But I think the best unit is the Hurricanes defense, and I'm going to ride with that.
Hurricanes defense been outstanding so far here in the college football playoff. All right, Chris, let's go to Friday night where we get a Big Ten rematch in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. Indiana and Oregon. Of course, Indiana has been super impressive here. They are the favorite to win the whole thing. They went to Eugene earlier this season and beat the Ducks. Hoosiers are 3.5-point favorites, 47.5 the total.
Yeah, like we were talking before the show with Max there. I didn't hear anyone in the beginning of the week leaning towards Oregon, and now today, all of a sudden every single person I listen to likes Oregon, and I'm not sure why. I mean, I'm not gonna go against Indiana again. I've learned my lesson enough times this year. I don't really have a huge play on this game, but I am definitely leaning in the future market because like I mentioned, I have Miami and Ole Miss, so I have essentially a free roll to the finals. But I'm trying to come up with a little bit of hedges here so that when I get to the finals, I'm going to be better positioned. So I feel like Indiana's the right side. I know they already beat them, and revenge is a big deal. But look at this. You have some serious travel with Oregon. Oregon went from Eugene to Miami, Miami back to Eugene. Now they have to fly back to Atlanta. And then you have Dan Lanning in that Texas Tech game. I mean, he's coaching with almost a Dan Campbell strategy on steroids. The guy refuses to punt. He refuses to kick field goals. He goes for it in every situation. He takes crazy risks. And I just thought Dante Moore, I know he's getting all this hype like he might be the number 1 pick. He had a very sloppy game. He had an interception. He was putting the ball on the ground, a couple of missed snaps. I just feel like Mendoza is the safer bet. Signetti's obviously the better coach. And you have two guys who work well together, who don't make many mistakes. I just think Mendoza's he's such a high IQ guy, very little turnovers. I'm just not sure you're going to get that with Dante Moore. And another thing is this broken clavicle injured for Jordan Davison. he's their number one back, led the team 15 touchdowns. He scored the 2 touchdowns last week versus Texas Tech. So the line is a little peculiar to me. I know it's a big move from when they played at Oregon, but it still seems like with all that early support for the Hoosiers, the line might have moved up, and it's kind of moving the other direction. It makes me a little bit nervous. But I think with all the travel and the coaching advantage, and I think the quarterback advantage, I think Indiana gets the job done.
Yeah, look, and it's tough. And you mentioned all that travel, Chris. And the crazy part is if Oregon did win the game, they'd go back to Eugene and then back to Miami again.
Correct.
That's where the national championship game is down there. But maybe Miami might be there waiting for them down in Miami. You never know. Indiana will not lose another game this season. The Amish electrician has jumped in and he has spoken. They will not lose another game this year. So there you go with the Amish electrician. All right, Chris. So we got you with the college football playoff Thursday and Friday night. How about a couple for there's another Frankie the Fixer. Any concern with how the turf is going to play in favor of the offense in the Fiesta Bowl? Have you heard that, Chris, about this turf in the Fiesta Bowl? Does that concern you at all?
Well, there was the issue a couple years ago in the Super Bowl where the turf was a main question in the game where guys were slipping all over the place. Hey, listen, I'm a Patriots fan. Bill Belichick always had guys on his staff out there super early testing the turf. There were games where people would come to Foxborough, they'd have the wrong cleats on, they would change the game plan. Mid-game plan, they'd start passing more if the D-backs couldn't, was slipping and sliding. So that's part of the coaching staff. You got to be on top of that stuff. You got to have longer cleats or shorter cleats or whatever type of turf they have. Your both teams are playing on the same surface. It's not like one's on another side, one's, it's different. They're on the same surface. So just be prepared. Have your, have the right staff out there checking out the turf. Get the right cleats. Shouldn't be an issue. But that has been a problem in the past. That turf seems to. It's one of the ones where they slide in and out like they do in Vegas. Sometimes it poses a little slippery surface, slippery track. So hopefully that's not an issue. You don't want one of these big games, going down or being derailed by a guy falling down.
No. You never want any of that. All right, NFL wild card weekend now. You mentioned the Patriots, of course, that you're a Patriot fan. Patriots back in the mix here Sunday night at home against the Chargers. Drake May, Mike Vrabel, unbelievable season. They are laying 3.5 at home. The total is 46.5.
Yeah, I'm not much of a trend guy, although I did play a big parlay with all the 3 trends that were hitting great this whole season. And I'm going to go back to it one more time. There's been a lot of talk about the Patriots and their schedule, and it's the worst in the league, and everyone's been all over it, and that's why Drake May should win the MVP. But I want to look at one aspect of the Chargers schedule. The Chargers have played 8 road games this year. They played Vegas, the Giants, Miami, Tennessee, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Dallas, and Denver. They were 2-5-1 against the spread in the first half. Of the 2 playoff teams they played, out of the 8, Jacksonville, where they lost 35-6, and Denver last week, they only scored 9 points in the first half. So I'm going to go with a team that's a slow starting team in the Chargers on the road versus a team that the Patriots have been absolutely lights out in the first half. Patriots are 14-3 or 13-3-1 against the spread in the first half this season. They're 16-1 straight up on the number. So Patriots are a team, starts out quick, and gets the ball rolling. I do think it'll be a close game later on, but I'm on the first half Patriots. The Patriots got Milton Williams back last week. They're all-world defensive tackle, the one they signed from Baltimore last year. Made a huge difference. I know A-Chain was out, but the Miami Dolphins had 25 rushes for 63 yards. One of the rushes was a 9-yard scamper by Ewers. So you back that out. The Dolphins were only averaging 2.2 yards a carry with Milton Williams back in the lineup. And I feel everyone knows that Harbaugh is going to try to, establish the run with Hampton and Vidal. So I don't think that's going to be too successful in the first half. And I'm not sure how healthy Herbert is. Ever since, the hand injury, Ladd McConkey's been pretty much on a milk carton. He only has 158 total receiving yards since week 10. Herbert's hand has been an issue. He's one's in the cast. He's like bleeding every week. So I'm not sure a team that starts slow is going to go on the road at a night game in Foxborough and get off the mat. I just feel like the Patriots are going to start quick, and I'm going to go with that trend. I'm going to play the Patriots minus 2.5 in the first half. Get to lay a little extra juice, minus 120, minus 123. That's where I am. Patriots first half against the Chargers.
Chris, talking to you and obviously knowing you, it's sort of just overall like a gut sort of feel in your handicapping, right? Like you kind of put it all in the brain and then come out with an angle, whether it's in this case maybe weighing a trend a little bit more, or in other cases, how much does weather factor into this? I mean, these guys are professionals. It's not their first game in cold weather, and I'm talking about the Chargers, obviously being LA natives. You mentioned the field in the past. Just overall, going into this kind of a situation, is it more pronounced in the first half, you think? I mean, just what's your sort of interpretation of it all?
Well, I mean, if it was freezing, if it was like a sub-freezing type of situation with wind or snow, obviously you got to factor that a little bit more in. Luckily for the Chargers, it's not going to be that bad. It's only going to be in like the 40s to start the game. Maybe it gets down to the 30s. It's not supposed to be a lot of wind. So I don't think that's going to be a big factor. Sometimes it's a little bit shock and awe if the crowd's really into it. You're at a specific stadium. Yeah, you definitely got to factor in. Obviously, most people realize, if you've been handicapping or looking at games for a long time, it's the wind is the biggest concern. But I just don't think that. I just feel like the Chargers' weapons on offenses haven't been up to snuff. There's been so many injuries. We all know the problems with the offensive line. I can just see the crowd getting into it and New England getting off to a quick start. I don't think the Patriots are going to blow the Chargers out because Harbaugh's a really good coach. He's good at adjustments. I think it'll be a close game. I think the Patriots will win. I'm not sure if I would lay 3.5. I could see it being a 3-point game. I've seen it's up to 4 at some certain spots. I just think they've been so consistent getting off to good starts. Why not keep going with the trend? Especially if you look at the teams that the Chargers have played on the road, none of them are really that strong. Even Denver last week, they're trying to win. They didn't muster much. They have to be the worst number 1 seed in a long time. The only win over a playoff, the only team they played that made the playoffs was Jacksonville, and they got smoked in that game. So the Chargers, for as good as the season they've had, they played a really, really weak schedule on the road.
The other game that you've got for us, of course, you mentioned Drake May with the MVP, and Matthew Stafford is the other guy in the conversation for the MVP. The Rams will be in Carolina, first game of the weekend, Saturday, 4:30 East, and of course, our biggest number of the weekend with a 10.5 at Bet Rivers.
Yeah, so I haven't heard many people, if anyone, making the case for the Panthers this week. And when the line first came out, it jumped off the page of me because it was double digits. So I actually played it at 10. I'm getting the worst of the number right now. I might be interested in playing it again if it gets to 11. But a home team getting 10.5 points versus a defense that's less than stellar. The last 4 games when they didn't play Arizona, they gave up 27, 38, 34, 31. Leaking oil in the back end. Yes, they have the ferocious pass rush. The front 4 is great, but their secondary is extremely weak. And I think that Carolina has the ability with the big receivers they have. They have Leggett, McMillan, big tight end Tommy Tremble. If Bryce Young can see over the line and actually get the ball down the field, I think they should be okay. I mean, Arizona was moving the ball up and down the field. That's with 0 running game for the Cardinals. I mean, Panthers have Rico Dowdle. I think Canales should be able to put a game plan together with enough weapons to score enough points. So I think Carolina can win the game. Probably not. But I've seen situations like this before. It's an early game. It's on grass. It's outdoors. It's not the same situation that the Rams are used to. And hey, we talked about travel before with Oregon. Look what we have here. You have the Monday night game in Atlanta on December 29th. Fly back across country to play on Sunday. This past Sunday. And then what do we have? Another short week for the Rams, a team that has a lot of injuries. It's always banged up. You're playing 3 games in 12 days. And you're laying 10.5 points on the road. Sign me up for the Panthers. I know it's ugly. You got to hold your nose and just kind of hope for the best down the stretch when, Stafford's trying to go for that go-ahead touchdown to kill you. But I just think 10.5 points is too much for a home team on the road in the playoffs.
Before Chris goes, Doug, would you guys like to do 60 seconds on May versus Stafford before he goes? Go ahead. Go ahead, Doug. Go ahead.
To use Twitter because the votes are in, right? Do we know that?
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. I think you got to do that right after the regular season ends. You got to get
I will say someone asked me during the games on Sunday, and I was like, I can't formulate an opinion because all I've been looking at this is through the lens of how voters are and how subconscious they are and how biased they are and things like that. And then he was trying to get it at him. He's like, who would you vote for? I'm like, I got to go back and dig through it. I would honestly, I'd respect a vote on either guy. I do think playing the tougher schedule is more than just, the defenses are the same. in terms of EPA. It's just like it takes it out of you and all that stuff. I thought May's been great and all that stuff. I firmly believe Stafford's going to win because the voters want him to win.
I'll say one thing. At the third quarter, when Jacoby Brissett threw a 56-yard pass down the sidelines, it was going to be 1st and 10 for Arizona going in. I looked at the odds, and Drake May was still the big favorite. Things flipped in the fourth quarter. He got those 2 extra touchdowns. He has 4 touchdowns. The only thing he beats him on is touchdowns. Yes, he has 300 more yards, but it's on 105 more passes. Based on Drake May's stats and percentage and average, he would have 300. He would have 5,000 yards passing. He beats him in completion percentage, average per attempt, QBR, rating, rushing touchdown, rushing yards, EPA per play, all the fancy stats. And I think if Stafford played for the Patriots, he probably would have been out for the year after week 4 because the offensive line's so terrible. He has double the amount of sacks. So we'll see what happens. I think Stafford's probably gonna win it. Luckily for me, I had 95-1, and I've been betting Stafford anytime I could get plus money over the last month or so. So things are fine. I'll be happy either way. I'm more concerned that my Patriots get the win this week and we can move on to the second round.
Chris, tremendous job as always. Thanks for stopping by. Good luck this weekend in all of the games, and we'll see you again next time.
All right. Good luck, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
There he is, Chris Macero with us here on Betting Weekly Live on a Wednesday with Mike Carver and Doug Kezirian as we're getting ready for all of the action coming up tonight. You know, Doug, I had to drop the MVP stuff in. I saw you guys going, but you know, it's like you said, it's he's easy to bait with the Drake May and Matthew Stafford stuff lately. I couldn't leave without that, Doug. I'm sorry.
You know, it's crazy. It just shows you that the awards markets are all over the place, and the odds makers don't really have any information. You know, they're moving stuff, and if I were, you know, one of them, I would move with the market too, and just maybe if I had an opinion, shade things like 10 cents lower or whatever. You just got to be careful. But by no means is it the arbiter of what's really going to happen, because as someone who had a huge, massive, heavy 6-figure win potentially on Alyssa Thomas winning WNBA MVP a few years ago, and I found out some knucklehead changed his vote the last day because the Liberty PR was really pushing things the last month. It makes me want to go ballistic on someone. But so this stuff sways, and a touchdown here. It's actually comical that national writers will say, "Ooh, so and so just moved. They're probably going to win." Then it's one thing to report facts like, "Oh, Stafford's now the favorite," which is a fact. But then to say that means anything is comical. These odds makers have no clue. I guarantee you all the favorites right now are not going to all be the award winners. And it's a market, and they're managing risk, and everyone's sort of a guessing game. Certain awards, you do hear certain influential voters are adamant, take a stand, whether then it's Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, then it's more of a platform. Betting this stuff is really hard, which makes it that much more awesome to bet. You got to lean into the variance, because anytime the odds makers are kind of out of the loop, I think it's better for the bettors. So if you have a firm opinion, like, remember, I was saying, you know, Stafford, blah, 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 blah. Like, how bad did things go down the stretch and he's still the favorite, right? Yep. Like, things went horribly. It just shows you that I think it should have been a minus 600 going into that Atlanta game, because I think they were minus $4 on the money line. So now, look, he hasn't won yet, but the market came all the way back even after laying that egg that he laid. So if you can bet on it still, I think 180 probably has a little value, but, you know, there's no need to like jump into it. But Bet Rivers does have the price up, and I just think human behavior. The number one reason is they want it. Stafford feels safer to the voter, to the one who doesn't want to have buyer's remorse or egg on their face. And I bring up Derrick Rose a little bit in 2011. They want to, if May ends up being like an average quarterback, you know, like mediocre or whatever, they don't want to feel dirty about voting for him for MVP, even though that wouldn't have any impact at all on how he performs the rest of his career. They just want to feel better that, like, oh, I voted for a Hall of Famer and he won MVP that year. It feels like a safer play. That's the subconscious sort of connecting of the dots, in my opinion, which is why I was so strong on it a month ago.
Great stuff there from Chris Macero. All right, if you have your eyes on a plus money bet at Bet Rivers. Betting Weekly is giving you a little pizza money to lock it in. Use our pizza money bonus code, Betting Weekly 1218, to get a $10 bonus bet to use on any plus money bet at Bet Rivers. Betting Weekly 1218. You have until January 11th to redeem the code at any U.S. Bet Rivers sportsbook. Good for one bet, for eligible players only. Must be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Betting Weekly 1218 is the code. All right, Doug, let's get into tonight's action. NBA, we got a big night. 12 games for us here on Betting Weekly Live, and we'll start with an ESPN doubleheader, which begins in Boston between the Nuggets and the Celtics. Celtics right now, -9, 230.5 the total.
Yeah, this is really tough to assess Denver here just because we know what they did in their last game, right? 15.5-point dogs at Philly, win outright. Very impressive stuff. They were sitting everyone. Now, Jokic is obviously still out, but Murray, Gordon, Brown, Hardaway Jr., all expected to play. I don't believe Valanciunas is, but they're all day-to-day. So it's kind of a tricky point spread and handicap. I'll say this. If let's say all those guys are out and they're resting, which I don't think is going to happen, but let's just say they are. They went with a very 3-point heavy lineup in Philly, and that's just Celtics to a T, right? Who they like and what the style of play they want to go with. So I think this could be a track meet and up and down. And even if Brown and Gordon are in, I think the first half over one of those plays is a good angle. But I'm also circling Anthony Simons of Boston. Now, I really like him. It's a really strange situation. He comes off the bench because Pritchard starts, but he's been gunning. In his last game, 8 of 14 from downtown. Previous, 5 of 8. Previous, 4 of 7. 4 of 10. I used to call him, poor man's Steph or baby Steph because he has that quick dribble, but he's also a former slam dunk contest participant. So you can't just get up in his grill because he'll go by you and he's got crazy ups. Over 2.5 made threes. Now, I know he's off the bench, but this Denver team wants to get up and down, shoot threes. We know the Celtics chuck and duck. So I'm going to go with Simons over 2.5 made threes. I just think it's a very good sort of value play regardless of Denver's lineup. So that's why I can't get involved with the point spread or total, even though I do think first half over is a good play as well.
Yeah, plus 104 to the over there for the 2.5 threes for Simons tonight in the first game of that ESPN doubleheader. Second game, Lakers are in San Antonio against the Spurs. Of course, the Lakers won last night in New Orleans against the Pelicans. They got a big 30-point night from LeBron. Tonight, Spurs -7.5, 235.5.
I love the Spurs. Tough loss in their last game against Memphis. They've now lost back-to-back. There's a little kind of disappointment within the team, things like that. I think they come out like gangbusters. The Lakers, are we sure LeBron's playing tonight? He was asked the question yesterday, and he said, basically saying, I'm 41. The rest of my career, back-to-backs are going to be up in the air, which is a totally fair comment. And sidebar, I think we need to give him credit in the whole GOAT conversation. Like, Jordan criticizes load management, and the guy took 2 years off, okay? Yeah. You want to talk about taking a game off or 2 years off? So, I mean, you preserve your body, you stay fresh, and there's something to be said about playing every darn game or when you're healthy for 20-plus years. So, in this game, I just think, look, the Lakers have a way of kind of playing above their means when the guys are out. Obviously Austin Reeves still out. But I think the Spurs are too smooth, too well coached, and want this game more. So I'd look at first quarter, first half, something like that.
Now, some conspiracy theorists would say that those 2 years off were not of his doing, Doug. Some people with
connected to our show.
You never know with that. Spurs tonight -7.5. We got a special here tonight at Bet Rivers too in this game. Wemby Wednesday. Victor Wembanyama to score 13 plus points in the first half versus the Lakers. This is boosted from even money to plus 120. So plus 120 for 13 in the first half from Wemby tonight, Doug.
I like it. I really like the judo chop kick that he had for the ball in the net, which is just everything that defeats logic every time you see him play. I think he can go off. He had the pull-up 3 in transition that was just fantastic. I believe it tied the game. And then my boy Cam Spencer won it for the Grizzlies. I think this is a low number. I think Wemby can go off. The Lakers don't have a lot of look, Jackson Hayes can play a little defense. DeAndre Ayton got pulled early for just not boxing out on a free throw. JJ Redick was not having it. I think Wemby's going to eat early and often in this game.
Wemby getting involved, boosted up to plus 120 tonight on a Wemby Wednesday at Bet Rivers. All right, we got a lot of other games, 10 other games besides those 2 games on TV. Let's go to OKC. Back at home, once again laying an enormous number with your Jazz in town as well. 18 for the Thunder tonight, 240 flat the total.
This is really fascinating because it's not a one-off game for the Thunder. They are 6-6 in their last 12 games. So they started 24-1. Jalen Williams happened to be asked about the all-time great teams. And honestly, it was an innocent answer. He's like, I'm always going to pick myself. But everyone, the headline says, Jalen Williams says the Thunder are better than all the all-time greats and, the Warriors and the Bulls. And he just said he's always going to pick himself. And when they started listing some teams, I do think the Thunder respond. Now, I was texting with some sharp people last night after, looking ahead to today. And one guy, had the counterpoint, right? He goes, look, I'm not going to assume the Thunder are awesome until they start being awesome. This is more than just a couple games here. It's 12. Frankie the Fixer. Maybe he was involved in all the games going under yesterday. But the Thunder are. That game was the second game of a back-to-back. They've been really bad. They're like 1-4 back-to-backs or something like that, ATS, things like that. So I think we see them really respond. We know the Jazz, as I've talked about, their offensive efficiency is really different on the road versus at home. I mean, we're talking like bottom 5 in the NBA versus top 10. So I'm going to go first half. I mean, I could go first quarter. The second unit of the Thunder is really strong. Now, the Jazz second unit's pretty good too. That's the thing. Their delta is usually really pronounced in that second quarter is the Thunder's. But if they build a huge lead first quarter, then they'll keep it. So I think it gives me kind of more ways to win, if you will. So I'm going to go Thunder first half minus 10.5. Garbage time, I think the Jazz can kind of step on it. But I expect, even though OKC's been in a rut of 6-6 in their last 12, I think we see them really respond here first half minus 10.5.
Yeah, it's the right team in their building too to maybe put a hammer down on, especially early, like you say. I like the first half. Come out, I mean, losing games so out of character for them. Then just come out and they got a team like the Jazz come in and take care of business. All right, few others. Let's bounce around to some of the ones that maybe have a little more interest. Although the Magic in Brooklyn against the Nets, I know you got to play in this one. Magic -2, 220.5 is the total tonight in Brooklyn at the Barclays.
I've talked about him before. I think we hit his 3-pointers once and then lost one. So I think we're 1-1.
Yep.
But it's Anthony Black. He's really started to come into his own in Orlando this year. Now, they've had a lot of injuries. First, it was Banchero. Then it was Franz Wagner. And now it's Jalen Suggs again. But his PRA, man, he's really been just filling it up. It's mostly points. He'll get there sometimes with 28, 22, 17. But his rebounds and assists, ball finds energy, as we know the cliche is. So sometimes he might go under by a half, but he has rebounds. And then, so I think I was getting a little too cute with his threes. I want to go PRA here. So over 27.5. He's basically cashed this like 9 of 10 or 8 of 10, something like that. More minutes with Suggs out, like I said. I think Suggs cuts into his shooting a little bit. So I'm not glad he's hurt, but I think we're seizing the opportunity here with Suggs out.
There you go. Anthony Black tonight, 27.5 PRA for that. All right, rapid fire through a couple of the other ones. The Wizards are hot. I mean, they're really hot. They won again last night against the Magic. They're in Philly tonight against the Sixers. Now, we just saw the Sixers lose outright to a number around this to the Nuggets. It's 16.5. I did see the Wizards aren't going to play McCollum and Middleton tonight. 236.5. Yeah, no McCollum, no Middleton, at least according to the sheet I just checked.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me go a little reverse Uno here. What do you make of the Sixers being just dreadful at full strength with Embiid, Paul George, and Maxey? That they have like their worst record with that lineup.
I think that they're going to have to make a decision at some point, right? Because I think you're right. When you watch, they're less than, subpar efforts are when everyone's healthy. It seems like when one guy gets to kind of carry the mail a little bit, all the other pieces around him fit. I mean, do we just go to, is Embiid the odd guy out, Doug? I mean, if you had to pick one, if the big three are starting, Sixers are finished. Steve checks in. And now they have Embiid listed as game time decision with his knee on the injury
You just wait
report.
for him to get hurt, and then it'll kind of work itself out.
I guess, but what if he, you got to play him if he's not hurt, right? I mean, you got to put him. Do you explore moving him? I know we've talked about this for years. This has been chatted about with Embiid.
Wants him.
I guess that's true. There's really who's reaching out for Joel Embiid at this point. The guy's basically on half a knee between the two of them. There's not a lot there, that's for sure. Elsewhere tonight, what other games caught my eye? The Clippers are getting 4.5 at the Garden against the Knicks.
Going back to that game to put a bow on it. You got to be really careful with those Wizards. I mean, they've been playing great. We talked about it yesterday. I said, look, are they good now? But McCollum is so important.
Yeah.
So if he's out, this could be a bloodbath.
I think I would still take the Wizards at that number. 16.5. I'm probably nuts. Let's see what happens with Embiid. If Embiid's in and everybody's playing, maybe we'll take this. I'll take the Wizards with the 16.
Right.
Clippers getting 4.5 at the Garden against the Knicks. Knicks haven't looked great. Clippers have kind of come alive. They beat the Warriors the other night. 223.5 is the total.
Knicks got to get right. I mean, they've lost 3 straight or whatever it is. I think it's a great spot to bat the Knicks, but versus the opening line, they are like 1-11 or something like that since beating the Bucks or whoever they beat, the Spurs, for the NBA Cup. There's been a couple where they've won by a half because of the closing line, but they've just been dreadful. Josh Hart's out. I don't know if I want to jump in here. I think that Cup took a lot out of them. I mean, I think that's why these guys, kind of mail it in at parts of the season. So they've lost 4 straight. The Clippers did get back on track. Nice win against the Warriors, but now they got the travel cross country. This is the first game of their road trip. I think the number's right. I can't get involved. But the spot screams New York.
Spot does scream New York. They need to bounce back badly. Elsewhere tonight, I'll just wrap it. Raptors are in Charlotte against the Hornets. The Bulls are in Detroit against the Pistons. Pelicans and Hawks. That could be a big over tonight in Atlanta. Suns, Grizzlies this evening. Bucks, Warriors. Rockets, Blazers. Plenty of other games there, Doug, tonight. Huge night in the NBA.
Yeah, there's a lot to like. Warriors are going to bounce back one of these days. I just don't want to deal with sort of their drama right now. They played well. They just missed shots in their last game. I think they probably get back on track, but Giannis is just such a wild card. I just have no desire to fade him for 6 points. If the line was shorter, but I think it's that high for a reason. I think they get right. Because, again, I think they played well in the last game.
Yeah.
I believe Draymond or Butler was asked that, and he just said, we played well. We missed shots. So I think that's the game. That's sort of like that's going to be a get right spot in my eyes. Bulls Pistons is really interesting, but the Bulls are depleted. Just feels like too many points. The Hawks are way better. The Pelicans stink. I think I'd probably lay it with the Hawks. This Memphis team's interesting. They're really good at times, but so are the Suns. Memphis is not good as an underdog, but they did get the cover against the Spurs the other night. Got the win outright. I'd probably just go dog in a lot of these games because it's the NBA.
Give me at 246.5, Atlanta, New Orleans. Up, and away. Tee it high and let it fly tonight with those two teams. Bet Rivers does have for you this evening. NBA Wednesday primetime second chance SGP. Log into your Bet Rivers app or betrivers.com account each Wednesday to receive a second chance same game parlay token to use on either of the primetime NBA games that day. If your wager does not hit, of course, you get the token back. See the Bet Rivers app or website for full details. NBA Wednesday primetime second chance SGP. All right, college hoops. Let's roll. A couple more really good ones tonight in college. Iowa State at Baylor. We'll start there just after 8 o'clock East. This game is on Peacock. Iowa State minus 4.5, 155.5 the total.
I don't know what to make of this because you got to remember teams don't go undefeated, right? Yeah, like Wichita State almost did 10 years ago or so, but for the most part, teams do not go undefeated. So you just got to wait for your spot. And is this a spot that sort of Iowa State gets a little dose of reality? You got to be careful because Nebraska's still undefeated, pulling off some solid wins and going on the road and Buckeyes, and they got them there. So you just got to wonder, when's it coming? When's it coming? They're at the Fog a week from yesterday, I believe. I want to say Baylor gets them, and then you got some extra candy. It's Baylor pass, but I'm not ready to step in front of this Iowa State train.
I am not either at this point. Of course, laying 4.5 on the road in Waco. Alabama at Vandy tonight. Vandy also undefeated, 14-0. And they are favorites tonight, 3.5 over Bama at home. 180.5. Let's go with that total.
I like the over. I really do. I think Vandy's gonna hang. They want to run. They ain't scared. Look at is this the kind of largest Bama's an underdog all season? Pretty remarkable.
That's why I'm taking them. We don't get Bama with those numbers.
I think this Vandy team's for real. I really do. But that's too many points to lay. But I do like the over. They want to run, and I love it. And they're going to be chucking, ducking. Alabama knows they don't have a medium speed at all. So they only have ludicrous speed. So I'm going to go with the over here. And I think it's like 15 points too short. How about this? A live number will be 200 at one point.
You know what? It also feels like a kind of game. There'll be so many wild, probably runs and streaks in it that you could probably get a good number on both teams live at some point.
Oh yeah,
with Bama and Vandy. So I think it's a really good live betting game that you can get this evening. Cal at Virginia. Cal's actually off to a decent start. They're 13-2 as they head to Charlottesville. Virginia 12-2 on the season with a big number here, 13.5, 147.5 total.
This is interesting. I wish there was a tighter shot of it from the camera crew in their last game because, we know Mark Madsen's dancing from the Laker parades. And remember the foul three-pointer, and Shrewsbury went after the ref after the game. But it was a 4-point play for Cal. And when the three-pointer and one was hit, Madsen did his dancing where he did the total white guy dance. And it was too wide of a shot. I don't think it really got enough run. So it's just great celebration and everything from Madsen. And then the ultimate flat spot. I mean, come on. You think this Cal team, who I agree is good, is going to go on the road just a few days later and kind of hang with a Virginia team that's actually got offense and everything? Now, I know it's been 5 days and all that, and they were at home. I think this is an ultimate flat spot. I'm betting Virginia first half, and if it doesn't win, I'm just going to martingale it for the second half.
Virginia first half there tonight against Cal. All right, a few other ones. Here's the one that's on me, and you know why I'm on it. Unranked team favored at home against the ranked team. And you have SMU coming off a monster win.
Georgia was an interesting outcome yesterday.
Yes, it was. Oak State got there with that theory last night. No problem against UCF. So we had a few last night that got there. And SMU just beat North Carolina. They're ranked. They go to Clemson. Clemson's a real good team. I'm laying 3.5 with Clemson tonight with that strategy there, Doug.
You were telling me SMU just got ranked.
Well, listen, there's obviously
after beating Carolina.
Yes, they're 24th in the I think it's either the AP or the coaches. They're 24.
Yeah, they're AP, so they weren't ranked last. I'm checking right now because I think that's the kiss of death.
Yes, and it's the same thing like UCF last night. UCF got it too.
Right. That's what they're feeling themselves. I think that's a great bet. Not a good bet, a great bet.
Well, and you'll be hearing me say it again in a couple of minutes, Doug. I'll drop the breadcrumbs for you now.
I was going to steal it if you didn't.
Oh, I already had it on there. That's rare for me. Well done. I got it in fairly early tonight.
That was me with Utah State yesterday. I think I had it overnight.
Let me ask you a couple of other ones that caught my eye real fast. Staying in the SEC, Mississippi State tonight against Oklahoma. Oklahoma out to a pretty good start. They're 11-3. This is a pick'em. Bulldogs at home here, maybe 9-5. Not a great start, but in their barn tonight against the Sooners.
Well, Stark Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't really have a good read on OU right now. I think they got smoked earlier in the year, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Against someone really good.
So, yeah, I'm just not really like ready to believe in it. Yeah, they got beat up
Gonzaga.
against Gonzaga, but it wasn't that bad.
Arizona State crushed them too, and Arizona State.
That's not a good sign. I think you're right to thinking, and I talked about it yesterday. In these types of games, more often than not, you're going to win if you just take the home team. Like Louisville did not get there. Great second half by Duke, but big picture, you're better off taking the home team here.
Right, and also in the SEC, Missouri off a good win against Florida. Is this too many points with Kentucky on the road tonight, or can Kentucky handle this against Mizzou?
Kentucky can handle it, but Mizzou's off that big win, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know Florida, was not Florida of last year, but they're still the defending champs. But Mizzou kind of, controlled that game almost the entire way, basically, for lack of a, few details here and there. So, But it's at Rupp. UK can roll them, but I'd go dog or pass here.
Dog or pass for Mizzou. UConn's laying a huge number. Look at this. A Lottie Crooks in Cincinnati tonight from Steve. Little women's side.
They threw the double at her in the last game, right?
Yep.
And then they lost.
There
Down,
it is.
I think it was Baylor, right?
18 and a half for the Iowa State women.
Feels like a lot. I was looking at St. John's catching 40-something against UConn. Just throwing that out there.
Ooh, St. John's.
I'm interested to see if Cincinnati. Trust me, look, I know. So they threw a double at her in the second half, and I'm curious if they repeat that. I'm curious if Iowa State is prepared for that. It's a big number. No opinion, but I'm keeping an eye on how they handle it for sure.
There are some other big spreads tonight on the men's side. UConn's a big road favorite at Providence. Purdue's a monster favorite at home against Washington. Arizona's a monster favorite at home against Kansas State. BYU numbers real big against Arizona State tonight at home.
I know a really sharp guy who has a heavy bet on Arizona for what it's worth.
Okay. On Arizona. Okay. Arizona tonight.
Laying the big lumber.
Laying the big lumber against KSU there in Tucson. So college hoops for this evening.
It looks short, doesn't it? Purdue line.
Yeah, I mean that seems like a bad trip for Washington to go into West Lafayette tonight. That probably isn't going to be fun for them. And you could see it getting out of hand. How about Penn State last night? Finally, somebody covering a big number against Michigan.
Yeah, almost won outright.
Almost won the game. And you said there was a lot of teams looking to learn a little something about them last night. And I would say absolutely with Penn State, you did. And Wisconsin got me that cover against UCLA as well.
That was impressive. Up big at half, double digits.
Yeah, very nice job. If you like what you see, as you should, make sure you subscribe to the Betting Weekly Studios channel on YouTube. You can catch us on Betting Weekly Live and, of course, all of our other shows, including Betting Weekly, Game Bet Match. Nigel Seeley and Sean Calvert as they preview matches at both ATP Brisbane and ATP Hong Kong. Sean is off to a 5-0 start this year. I know we've had a good couple nights with the Daily Doubles. I've seen the tweets with those guys as well. On fire to start the tennis this year, which is very good to see on the Betting Weekly Studios channel. All right, Doug. We're almost out of here. Hockey tonight. It's a short card. There's only 5 games. We had a really good night last night in the hockey. That over in Buffalo, Vancouver. Philly got there with the puck line against the Ducks. We had that over late night at the Shark Tank, and the Sharks won outright. So we had a couple of really nice ones in hockey. Only 5 games tonight. I don't love it, Doug. This is one of those things like you always say. It's a short night. There's only 5 games. There isn't much there. Now, the Stars are kind of a team that sticks out to me on the road in D.C. It is the second night of a back-to-back for them. They are 4-0 on the second night of a back-to-back this season. They've lost 6 in a row, though. Now, this was earlier plus money, now minus 105 for Dallas. Maybe Dallas could be something for me tonight. Even though they've lost 6 in a row, they're such a good team that maybe I'm going to play the other side of it now and start to play them until they win.
Well, these types of things, you have to be careful in all sports. Trends, like Chris was talking about. Okay, well, let's just speak specifics, but it works flying into other games. If you bet against a streak, you can only be right once. Okay. So if you bet into the Stars, then they lose again, you keep betting. But if you bet on a streak, you can only be wrong once.
Right.
So usually it's better to bet on a streak, because even if you're late to the party, the worst that can happen is you are only wrong once. Okay. Yes, no one wants to be the absolute jinx that they've lost for. You finally bet against them and they win. Whatever. I hate to break it to you, but you're not controlling the outcome of these games by just one wager. No. So I would say but if you like the handicap, and then the fact that they've lost 4 straight, factors into it, and it's your angle, then by all means. But it's just something to keep in mind before you go down in the blaze of glory chasing. Not that you are, Carver, but to our audience.
But it's minus 118 for the Caps too tonight. It's not a bad number if you do want to go after that streak tonight. And look, even though Dallas is 4-0 on those back-to-backs, as you say something, that's not a very large sample size. What were the conditions? Were they home in those back-to-backs? Were they on the road in those back-to-backs? There's a lot of things that you have to factor in to all of it. Calgary's in Montreal tonight. Nothing for me. Ottawa and Utah. St. Louis is in Chicago. Blackhawks have played a little better, but I don't have too much interest in them. I'm going to play the late night Sharks Kings over, though. That we'll find a way. Sharks' second night of a back-to-back. They got there last night. The Kings aren't the best for these, but with the Sharks in town, Sharks on the road give up a lot of goals. I'll take a shot over 6 tonight, San Jose and LA.
Okay.
Let's go.
Look, 6 is not a big number these days.
6.5, I might have thought about, because the Kings with a 6.5 is probably a little deadly. But with a flat 6, I'll try. Because we need the late night overs in hockey. We just have to have them. We need one game that gets there.
Speaking of late night overs, how about the Kraken being savants now on the second game of a back-to-back?
Smash win last night for them. Nice job by the Kraken. So that's 3 out of 4 second night of a back-to-back the Kraken have won since that streak ended. 3 out of 4.
You got to know when to jump off the trends.
No, you got to know. All right, it is time. The best bets, the Daily Double here on Betting Weekly Live. As I mentioned, I laid the breadcrumbs. I am going to Clemson tonight at home against SMU, laying the 3.5, the unranked team at home against the ranked team. Give me the Tigers, Doug.
I like it. I think it's a smart angle. I'm going to go with the first half in OKC. I'm not going to waver. I think it's the right mindset. Look, Thunder not exactly instilling a bunch of confidence. Circumstance, SGA, everything. Hopefully he gets to the free throw line like 19 times in the first half, and we get there. So I'll lay the first half with the Thunder minus the 10.5. So let's do another daily double. And pretty soon the books are going to make us do a triple something.
Yeah, if we keep this going. We won, of course, last night with that over 252. Number. We won the night before at 252, but tonight lands at plus 250. So pretty close. Clemson minus the 3.5 and the Thunder first half minus 10.5. The daily double for Betting Weekly Live this evening. And once again, I will tell you before we get out of here, if you have your eyes on a plus money bet, which the daily double is at Bet Rivers, Betting Weekly is giving you a little pizza money to lock it in. Use our pizza money bonus code Betting Weekly 1218 to get $10 bonus bet to use on any plus money bet at Bet Rivers. Betting Weekly 1218. You have until January 11th to redeem the code at any U.S. Bet Rivers sportsbook. Good for one bet for eligible players only. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Pizza money bet. Daily double. Clemson and OKC first half. Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian, Betting Weekly Live. We are back tomorrow. We have college football playoff semis. We have more NBA, more NHL, more college hoops, and we get a little closer to NFL wildcard weekend. Doug, tremendous job. As always, we will see you back here tomorrow, 4 p.m. East, 1 p.m. Pacific. Betting Weekly Live. Have a great night.